Welcome to Cute Videos and More. The last episode in this mini-series on Show Me Your IDE is right here. With me today, I got my good friend and co-worker Nicola, who will tell us a bit about Visual Studio Code. Welcome to the channel, Nicola.
Hey, thank you, Jesper. Thank you for having me.
So, Nicola, Visual Studio Code, that's for the young kids. You're way too old for that, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on the verge of being an older developer in KDAB, so...
Let me show you your top 3 cool features in Visual Studio.
Okay. So, maybe because before talking about Visual Studio, maybe the reason why I moved to Visual Studio, because I was a Qt Creator user for quite some time. And the biggest reason why I moved to Visual Studio Code is to be able to debug more quickly. I'm on Windows, and on Windows, Qt Creator is adding a bit of overload to the whole debugging session. So basically, when you debug software, it's 2 times or 3 times slower than in normal. And the software I was working on, just the startup time, it was something like 30 seconds on Qt Creator. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that's my first reason for moving to Visual Studio, and that's my first cool feature of Visual Studio. Debugger is quite fast, and it's in terms of speed, it's the same as Visual Studio. Well, I'm saying Visual Studio a lot, but it's actually Visual Studio Code.
I was just about to ask if I called the wrong person here.
I need to say VS Code, maybe VS Code. So,
there we are, VS Code. That works with me.
So let's go back. So my number 1 feature for VS Code usage is actually having a fast debugger. That's the reason why I moved from Qt Creator to VS Code.
Yep.
Also, it looks very nice. It's very, very clean. You know, it's quite young, so it's using all the new modern look and feel that you can expect from new applications. So that's also a good point. But let's focus more on the feature. The second feature I love in Visual Studio Code is how it manages Git. So for example, here you have a doc with all the Git feature you can expect, like the different commit in your repository, the different branches. And as soon as I'm doing something here, you can see the changes filed, and you can click on this one, and you have actually access to a diff view of this file, and you can, okay, no, I don't want to do this change, so you can just click here and the change is reverted. That's actually very, very nice. And it's also integrated inside the editor. So you see the small blue line here.
Mm-hmm.
When you click on it, you can pick actually the changes from the Git, from the changes that you have done in the file. And the whole workflow around Git is nice. So you can add a message here, you can commit. You have also the blame line for the current line here. So this one is because of Leon. You can click on this, and you have the full commit of that Leon did for this line and all the file here, and you can review them, etc., etc. So,
okay, nice.
Yeah, I think it's one of the nicest Git integration, and of course you can see the Git tree if you want to go back in time and change a branch, etc., etc. Next one, it's probably the speed. So for example, if I'm doing file usage, it's quite fast actually, and the file usage is also using this peak view you've seen for the Git changes. So you can see the different usage without changing the actual file if you want. And if you double click, of course, you go to this file. And there are peak for almost everything. So you have usage, but if you want to pick the declaration, oh, that's the usage. I forgot you can pick the declaration here. So the picking view is very nice because it allows you to add a bit more context to what you are looking at without changing the file.
So that almost reminds me of the interview I did with Alistair and asking him whether he could peek inside a peak. So he said, no, you can't do that. So now that he could. So
I didn't try it actually. Can you peek inside a peak? No, you can't.
Maybe that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. Again, those are more my top three best features of VS Code: debugging speed, Git integration, and all the picking and around the editor. So you can pick usage, you can pick declaration, etc., etc.
One thing that, and maybe I just haven't researched it enough, but one thing that strikes me is that to get started with Visual Studio Code, first you need to find the magic 257 plugins that makes it usable, or is that not the way it is anymore?
You are more or less correct. So if you want to start with Visual Studio Code for Qt development, you need a bit of work. So for example, here you have a .vs code where you have some file you need to edit to make it work. So it kind of finds the include files from Qt, for example. Here it knows what to launch, and it knows the mapping between the debugger. If you want to debug inside the Qt files, you need this kind of mapping. You need to add a visualizer file, etc., etc.
Is that something static that I would go and Google or go to Qt Widgets and More and find it in the description below? Or is it something that is different for every single project and I need to set it up every time?
So Sergio and myself, we released the blog not too far away, 1 month ago, with basically a starter project you can use.
Okay.
And if you do that, it's actually going to install all the plugins you need when you start the project. So you don't have to find the plugin you want.
And if I've done this, will it work with Qt out of the box, or what are the things where Qt Creator, after all, know Qt better than Visual Studio Code?
So if you have set up your project, it will work for Qt out of the box. Mm-hmm. So you can compile, you can debug, you have code completion, etc., etc. So all you expect from Qt. Where Qt Creator is way better is when it comes to two things: refactoring, because there's not a lot of refactoring inside VS Code for now. For example, you don't have I don't have a way to create a method from the definition. So create from definition refactoring doesn't exist in Visual Studio Code. Not with the code model I'm using. It exists with Microsoft one. But there are other refactoring, like transform a connection from signal slot to pointer to method. That's the kind of refactoring that are really Qt specific, that doesn't exist. Or if you create a Qt property, so you write Qt property and you can just go ahead and create all the setter and getter for this property. This doesn't exist, unfortunately. So everything that is pure Qt specific doesn't exist yet in VS Code.
And one of the very Qt specific things that are even more Qt widget specific things is Qt Designer. How well does that work from within Visual Studio Code?
Let's see. Not well.
Oh, I'll just go and edit the XML file. So yeah, that's
you can edit
easy.
the XML file if you want. No, for that you need to. I have two things open with VS Code. It's the assistant, the Qt assistant for documentation, and Qt Designer for anything that is UI specific. Unfortunately, there's no support for Qt Designer inside VS Code.
So I would even have to go to the file system myself and locate that UI file and start Qt Designer?
Yeah, or you go to you do reveal in here, and then you can open Qt Creator, or you can go and search for. Oh, there's no designer.
You don't do that often, do you?
No. Well, generally I have the designer open, and I'm probably changing the same 2 or 3 UI file of this project, so they are in my latest file open. But yeah, this is definitely missing. So I would love to be able to double click here and it's opening the designer.
So let me just go back to the refactoring. That surprised me quite a bit. I mean, the implement or add the CPP function from a function in a header file, a declaration. I mean, that seems to be very generic and very easy, low-hanging fruit even, that you would expect a Visual Studio with a huge community behind that would be implemented on day 3. Why is that not?
I don't know. I know that there's a bug because I'm using ClangD for the code model for C++.
Yeah.
And there's actually a bug for ClangD to implement this quick action. So create definition from definition from declaration, and it looks like it's lower priority. If you are using, because there are different plugins. If you are using the Visual Studio, it's not Visual Studio. If you are using the Microsoft C++ code model, then you do have access to this implement the definition from declaration. The problem with this Microsoft C++ plugin is the slowness of the code model. So when I do a file usage, it's taking 2-3 seconds. If you look at this, I'm doing file usage. It's instantaneous. So it's all about making concession. What do you prefer? Are you typing more code, or are you navigating more inside the code? And from my point of view, I write bugs, so I need to debug a lot my application, and navigation is key for me.
Well, indeed, getting around a larger code base is the more difficult thing. It's just yeah. So if I were to go down the path and try Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, that sounds very much like Windows to me. Visual Studio Code, is that Windows only too?
No, it's multi-platform. So you can use it on Windows, Mac, Linux. And the little project I showed here, this VS Code template, is actually able to work on the free platform. So you can download it and it will work on the free platform. You have some specific part for handling Linux, handling macOS, handling Windows. So that's nice.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything you would like to add before we hang up here?
One feature I love with Visual Studio Code, and I don't know if you have that in Qt Creator yet. It's the find text view. So you have text view. You're searching for text view. You want to replace with my text view. So it works nicely when everything is how do you call that, snake case. But it doesn't work here because text view is obviously lowercase, and you have this kind of thing where the T is lowercase t at the beginning because it's a member or a variable, etc., etc. And you have actually a way to match case when you do. Sorry, where is it? Oh, it's here. So this option is preserve case. So you can actually replace with preserving the case. So here you can see it's all lowercase. Here it's my text view with a lowercase m. And that's quite nice actually. I have no idea if Qt Creator can do that.
I must admit, I don't either. That's the challenge for next week's episode. Just not to me.
Let's find out. Search and replace. Oh, there's a preserve case. Okay.
There we are. So, you're welcome. I just implemented that for you while you were searching for it.
Well, actually, that's a good... if you are looking for a video, that's a small feature, interesting.
Well, now we already got that on video camera, so. Okay. Nicolas, thank you very much for your time and showing us a bit around Visual Studio Code. Which actually reminds me, I've heard a little bird sing. I don't know if that expression translates to English, but that's what you'd say in Danish. When somebody told you that you are switching to Visual Studio yourself. Now, why is that?
Oh, so yes, I'm switching to the actual Visual Studio. This one. The reason why I'm switching to it is basically because I'm missing all the refactoring features from Qt Creator. And now if I'm here, I can create something, and yeah, Shepper is thinking because it's not as fast, but you can generate automatically the definition from the declaration, and you have a lot more refactoring here. You can use like so you still have the pick method, the pick functions.
Saw that in the previous episode. Yeah.
Refactor. So you have rename, you have extract, you have you can actually change the parameters of the methods, and it's going to change everywhere, etc., etc. So let's
just stop here, shall we? This is getting so depressing. I mean, it's 2024, at least when people is watching this video here, and we still are impressed that we can rename from within our IDE. The Java people have been able to rewrite their whole application for 2-3 decades, but our damn little annoying preprocessor is screwing us over again and again.
Yeah, you can rename. Oh, but you can rename in Visual Studio Code. That's one thing. That's one refactoring you can do, renaming.
Okay. Let that be the last word. Thank you very much for joining me here today. And until next time, everybody, have a great time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.